Andy, my dude, have you heard of the magical website builder known as Squarespace?
Ugh, not another Squarespace ad. I feel like every podcast is sponsored by them.
Hey, don't knock it till you try it. Yes, okay, it is overhyped, but actually it lives up to the hype. Squarespace is like a website fairy godmother. With a click of a button, your site transforms into a beautiful masterpiece.
A website fairy godmother? That sounds interesting. What makes it so magical?
Well, for starters, those slick templates make anyone look like a professional web designer. Pick one, customize the colors and fonts to match your brand, and voila. Plus, the drag-and-drop fluid engine is so easy, your grandma could build a site on Squarespace.
Well, she did knit me a lovely scarf last Christmas. Maybe website design is next.
Exactly. And when you're ready to sell your Nana's handmade scarves online, Squarespace has built-in e-commerce. Add a store with one click. Get flexible payment options. Then watch those sales roll in. And when she wants to teach others her steezy scarf skills, Squarespace's new courses feature is just the ticket. Nana can set up her curriculum and enrollments and payments in a snap and become the next e-knitting influencer.
Oh, wow, you really sold me with the grandma angle. Sign me up for that free trial.
Just go to thenextreel.com/Squarespace and transform your site into a beautiful Squarespace masterpiece.
Well, thanks, Pete. Even though it's overhyped, Squarespace actually sounds perfect for Nana's site's needs. Appreciate the warning on the ads, though. I'll brace myself next time I listen to a podcast.
Anytime. Let me know if you need any help getting that site up and running. Andy, can you believe we've almost hit 700 episodes of The Next Reel?
I know, it's crazy. And with all the other episodes in our family of podcasts, we are well over 1,200 episodes of movie conversation. It's really pretty amazing that we've gotten to have these in-depth movie chats every week for over a decade now.
And we couldn't have done it without our loyal community of film fans. Their support over the years has meant so much.
For sure. That reminds me, we should give the merch store a shout out. Buying shirts from thenextreel.com/merch is a great way listeners can continue to support the show. Plus, they get to sport our great designs.
Absolutely. I think sometimes folks forget we have a variety of shirts, mugs, phone cases, and more available. In fact, a great place to start is with a shirt sporting the Next Reel's logo.
We also have that classic Fast Times Spicoli Surf School tee, or the weirdly popular Rusty's European Tour shirt.
The one from National Lampoon's European Vacation. Why is that so popular?
Search me, but we have sold a ridiculous number of those. I guess there are a lot of Rustys taking trips to Europe?
We're always adding new designs based on movies we've covered, like our brand new design for a streetcar named Desire, featuring a streetcar named Desire. So if you want to rep your love of TNR and films, head to thenextreel.com/merch.
Every purchase helps us continue to have these weekly in-depth conversations. So visit thenextreel.com/merch today.
And as always, thanks for listening and being a part of the Next Reel community. We've got lots more great movie chats coming your way. I'm Pete Wright.
And I'm Andy Nelson.
Welcome to The Next Reel. When the movie ends,
our conversation begins.
In just a matter of seconds, you're going to hear a classic episode of this show from back in the day when we called ourselves Movies We Like.
It took us a while to settle into the show's format, so you'll notice some differences as you listen to these episodes. For instance, it takes us a bit of time to actually get into the conversation about the movie. Things like that.
But we're still proud of the conversations about the movies themselves, and we think they're worth keeping in the library.
So enjoy these episodes from our back catalog. And you can become part of our Discord community, learn more about the show, and find out how you can become a supporting member at thenextreel.com.
So thank you, everybody, for downloading and listening to The Next Reel. We appreciate your time and attention, and we hope you enjoy the show.
So I approached my wife with a new idea for our new pet.
I can't wait to see where this goes. Jackrabbit.
No.
Shrew.
And then I would tame it. Not a shrew.
Kimono dragon. Kimono dragon.
The kimono.
It's a very dainty, sort of silky dragon with a sash. Always wears a sash.
The lovely floral pattern.
Hiss.
Talking about the movie tonight, became obsessed with giant insects.
Oh, that was that awful thing you sent me. You're a horrible man.
I told her, "Hey, honey, what if I wanted a new pet and I wanted to get a Malaysian jungle nymph? What do you think?"
And she said, "We don't have mythical creatures in our home. Get the hammer and the black light and
Harry
go."
Potter.
Exactly.
Yeah, get the black light.
Go kill some scorpions. I was hoping you were going to say that you were going to get a like one of the Amazonian millipedes that live for 30 years.
Right. That would be the giant African millipede.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, lives for that, and it eats dogs. That's its.
Yeah, the female is around 9 inches long.
Yeah, right. Eats dogs and children. We are the Next Reel. Thanks everybody for hanging out with us and listen to us jaw about movies. We appreciate it when you join the conversation. So you head over to thenextreel.com. You make sure you're subscribed to the show. To do that, you do that for free over in iTunes or Stitcher Smart Radio or any place where their fine podcast meals are served. Then you head over to Facebook or Google Plus, and you can join us in the conversation there. Facebook.com/thenextreel. Google Plus or Google.com/plus the Next Reel podcast. And we're also on Twitter at the Next Reel. So what else did I miss? Oh, I missed a lot.
Yeah,
missed a
lot.
You should check out the Pinterest board. You should check out Andy posts the movie posters. Great artwork from all the films that we've talked about. We also have, and this is moving up in the ranks of most important things. The second most important thing you could possibly know about the show: the Instagram Guess the Movie #PonyPrize photo contest that Andy runs every week. Andy, tell the good people where we stand.
It's been a tough week for people. I don't know if it's just been busy and people haven't had a chance to look, or...
So it was not guessed, is what you're saying?
It was not guessed. And
does that mean you give it up now? Like you're going to tell the people?
I don't think I should. I mean, I guess I have to, but maybe I'll just leave it hanging out there until someone decides to guess it. I'll start something new tomorrow, but...
it's just going to get buried. I think you got to tell the people. What was it? I think you should tell the people.
I'll just tell the people, and we'll call it a loss.
Yeah.
It was a tie into our new series, which is foreign language films, and also the fact that the amazing Max von Sydow is in Intacto, the movie we're talking about tonight. I went all the way back to the classic Ingmar Bergman film, The Seventh Seal. And yes, there were some obscure images in there, but I was thinking that the last few would be pretty obvious. You've got the image of death dancing with all the people across the hilltop, and then the last image I posted today was Max von Sydow's character playing chess with death, which is kind of an iconic film image. Alas, nobody seems to be Ingmar Bergman fans who is following the Instagram contest.
What is that? So what does that mean? You enter you just enter your own name in to the contest. Yes. You beat the people.
That's right. Yes.
That's what this whole contest is. It's Andy versus the people. Hashtag Andy versus. Name. That's great. Excellent. So that is ongoing, and so again, June 7th, 2018, we're gonna have a drawing for some, by then, fantastic prizes.
And one of these days, we'll get something up on our website kind of detailing this whole thing a little more.
Yes. Date may change. Subject to change. Yeah. Fantastic. What else did I miss?
Instagram, Pinterest, Facebook, Letterboxd. We got our Letterboxd account over there. If you want to know what movies we're going to be talking about, follow us on Letterboxd. You can check out our watch list. Right now, we have all the films we're going to be talking about through the rest of the year. And then once we get our butts in gear and we get our list together for next year, we'll have all of those films in the watch list so you can see all the films we're going to talk about next year.
Excellent. And we should talk just very quickly about we hope you will help us and participate in our review drawing contest revolution.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, head on over to iTunes. Between now and the end of 2013, we are going to take everyone who goes to iTunes and leaves us a review. We're going to take all of the people and put them into a hat and pick one, and that person gets to pick a movie that we're going to talk about next year.
That's awesome.
Right now, we have a wonderful comment from Moxie2005. She says, Andy and Peter, so much fun to listen to. I don't even care if I haven't seen the movie they're talking about. More than once, I've gotten strange looks on the street because I was laughing out loud while listening on my headphones. Maybe a Steve Martin series next year. So there you go. So right now, it looks like maybe we're doing Steve Martin.
Steve Martin, excellent.
Yeah, unless we get some more reviews in there. But hey, I love Steve Martin. That would be a lot of fun.
I do too. I think that would be a good one to add to the list.
Absolutely.
All right. Hey, let's talk trailers.
Let's.
Okay, I want you to go first because I think I may be more excited for your trailer than mine.
Well, I'm very excited for my trailer. I hope it's okay to be excited for my trailer. My trailer is the new Jason Reitman film that just premiered at Telluride earlier this year and is now opening in January, which is why I'm a little nervous. It's his new film called Labor Day with Kate Winslet, Josh Brolin. It looks like a really interesting film for him. It just doesn't seem the sort of film that he is normally doing. It's kind of a little more, drama with kind of this criminal element going on in it. It's Kate Winslet's a depressed single mom whose husband left her, and her son ends up, meeting up with this escaped convict who's been wounded, played by Josh Brolin, who basically needs a ride because he's being pursued by the cops, and this kid takes him home and with his mom, and they kind of hide this guy, and he and the mom fall for each other, and it looks like a really interesting relationship / crime thriller. So, coming from Jason Reitman, minus Diablo Cody, I'm very thrilled about it.
So we're renaming our trailer series sequence or our film series. Anything with Jason Reitman minus Diablo Cody.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's not just Jason Reitman. It's Jason Reitman minus
Diablo Cody.
Yep.
I don't know.
I'm very excited.
I am too. This, it looks really good. Why one of the reasons I'm so excited about it is it's not a brooding Western for what's his name?
For Josh Brolin.
For Josh Brolin, yeah. I feel like I have every time I see Josh Brolin, I immediately assume the film. Why is my memory going? No Country for Old Men, Josh Brolin,
yeah.
And it is so refreshing to see him as as not that guy.
Well, and Old Boy opens up next week, so that's definitely going to be a little twist for him, I think.
Right, right.
And the other character that I always think of that is so completely not Western Josh Brolin, and the other film you're probably thinking of is True Grit, which is also very Western Josh Brolin, but the
also
other
and W.
Well, that I think is the non. That's like the epitome of a non-Western Josh Brolin. Yes, he's got the accent, but there's nothing Western about George W. Bush. I'm sorry. I don't care if he goes hunting for zebras on his property or whatever.
Did you see the Will Ferrell commercial of him? He was doing his W impression, but it was for like some like MoveOn.org or something, and it was how scared he was of the horses. It was just take after take of him being it was good. I'm going to post it in the show notes. It's nice. That funny. All right, what were you saying?
No, I love Josh Brolin. He's great. He's a Goonie. Come on.
That's crazy, right?
I know.
Man, Goonie. Okay, my turn.
Time. Yeah, your turn.
I'm doing Some Velvet Morning. Some Velvet Morning. This is a Neil LaBute film. Neil LaBute, we know Neil LaBute. He's done in The Company of Men, Your Friends and Neighbors. He's done some TV. He's just been around for a long time. The Wicker Man.
What was that creepy one? It wasn't that great. That he just did with Samuel L. Jackson, Lakeview Terrace.
Lakeview Terrace, right. Yeah, that was
that
was 2008.
Yeah, it wasn't that great, but it had his kind of, traditional, there's just lots of interesting tension that he's good at creating.
Yeah. There's like a touch to it, and this one is not that kind of film at all. This is this stars Alice Eve as Velvet and Stanley Tucci as Fred. I love some Stanley Tucci. Mm-hmm. And this is a film where Stanley Tucci leaves his spouse and comes to hang out with Velvet, and the whole film sort of takes place in their apartment, kind of as they come together and break apart and come back together again. And it looks like an interesting minimalist kind of a romantic character comedy drama.
Yeah, it really. I mean, it's just a two-person movie.
Yeah.
At first, I thought I was wondering if this was based on one of Neil LaBute's plays or something.
Yeah, right.
I don't see anything about that. So.
And we should say, like, he does absolutely come from, or he has he swings both ways, stage and screen, and certainly has the chops of his from his playwriting, and so I think it has very much that sentiment, and you look at, and I never saw it, but I've read pieces of it, The Shape of Things, and that was a 2001 play with Paul Rudd and Rachel Weisz, and then they made the film again in 2003, again, which I did not see.
Right.
But it's got that sort of his take on a romance film vibe. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I'm really very interested in seeing it. The trailer looks interesting. I love this side of Alice Eve. Frankly, I'm excited to see her, in this sort of film, not Star Trek.
Yeah, she certainly does a lot of the genre sort of films. Men in Black 3, The Raven. She's out of my league as, kind of genre comedy, rom-com, I guess.
Yeah.
So she's definitely in a lot of that stuff. So it is interesting to see her kind of doing something that's just real hardcore, just character drama.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to this. It's also, I think we should note, it feels like a stretch to me for Stanley Tucci too. This does not strike me as the kind of role that he would be cast in. It strikes me as the kind of role that he would be cast in on stage. But it seems risky for him to cast him in this film. Not that I don't think he'll be absolutely compelling to watch, but he doesn't naturally strike me as a leading man type to play against Alice Eve, which makes me even more curious to see the film and to see what their intention is with him. So, all right.
Looks like this one's opening both internet and limited theatrical in mid-December.
Excellent. So we should all go see that. And now, kicking off the first ever next reel series on foreign language films, the 2001 Spanish thriller film Intacto.
You want to play against me? You're no chess.
You don't know that.
It's the ultimate game of chance and the most extreme sport of all, where winning is surviving and nobody survives forever.
I taught you how to use that luck. Now you think you're luckier than me.
Your gift I discovered, and your gift I take away.
If you're ready, I think it's time to play.
Juan Carlos Fresnadillo. I don't actually, apart from how fantastic my accent is just then, I don't actually speak Spanish at all. What? Let me tell you why I...
Qué lástima.
¿Dónde está la oficina de cambiar? Shut it. So let me tell you where I discovered Juan Carlos Fresnadillo was with 28 Weeks Later.
Right.
And that is the only other thing I have seen of Juan Carlos Fresnadillo.
I think he's only made one other feature.
Yeah, that was, what was that?
Intruders.
Yes.
The 2011 film with Clive Owen.
Oh, I do like that Clive Owen, but I didn't see that. That's the one with oh, yes, it's the one with the creepy poster with Clive Owen with no mouth or eyes.
Right. I haven't seen it either, but I just added it to my Netflix list.
Excellent. Well, so I think I'm on the record as being a gigantic fan of 28 Days Later.
Yes.
And so I was excited to see 28 Weeks Later, and there are some sequences in the film that were particularly memorable, but I had not experienced Juan Carlos, and so in terms of just the overall aesthetic of the film, let's just say I like 28 Days Later better.
Yes.
And so I went back and caught Intacto at the suggestion of another friend of the show, and man, what a crazy, challenging film to watch.
It really is.
Think about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this one, you're the one who put this one on the list. I'm a grateful follower of your tread. So why don't you talk a little bit about first of all, I think it would be good to do a quick review of what the film is about.
Yeah, this is one of those films. I'm not sure how many of our listeners have seen, but it's a fascinating film that basically is a story of four people who kind of come together in this world of this strange world where people basically can kind of where luck is something that you can end up taking from somebody. If you're luckier than they are, when you touch them, you can kind of absorb their luck. And so it's this interesting world where people kind of gamble and trade luck, and they do all these interesting bets to try to win each other's things and then other people's luck and everything. And it all comes together, builds to this climax of where there's this Jew who had survived the concentration camps because of his luck, and he's kind of the top of the heap in this world of who's luckiest.
He's like Magneto.
He's like Magneto, except he's Max von Sydow,
right?
And so you get this bank robber who's a lucky bank robber, and then you get this kind of fallen son who used to work for the Jew before he decided he wanted to strike out on his own. And basically, Max von Sydow's character, what's his name, Samuel, takes his luck and leaves him luckless, and so now he has to basically get this bank robber who's the only survivor in a plane crash to go and play these luck games with him to try to build his luck up so that he can go back and basically try to dethrone his father figure is kind of what's going on there. And then meanwhile, they're being pursued by this woman police officer, Sarah, who also is lucky in her own way, having survived a car accident and basically having unwittingly taken all of the luck from her husband and daughter in the accident, which is why she survived, although she doesn't know that. But as she gets into this world in the pursuit of this bank robber, she kind of is tied into this whole mystery of this strange society of basically people kind of gambling and trading in luck. And that's, I guess, kind of the long and the short of the story.
Now, just to clarify for me, because I'm slower. So Max von Sydow's character, Sam Berg, he's just super lucky, but he does he have the gift to steal other people's luck, or is that only Federico?
Oh, no. I think they all do.
They all do.
He gives Federico, when Federico says, I'm leaving, I'm done here, that's that right at the beginning when the elevator stops on the floor and he goes up to him and gives him that big hug, which is such a fascinating moment because it's like this embrace, which is supposed to be kind of a tender thing between two people. But he's stealing
his luck
but
at that time.
In this world of luck, it's almost like he's attacking him and he's taking all of his luck away from him, which is why his bodyguards basically beat the crap out of him.
That's right. That's okay. All right. I just want to make sure. I couldn't tell if Federico was a disciple or if he had a specific gift in the way he handles luck. Because the opening sequence, which I love so much, you see Federico, he's swimming laps, and they make this mention to the old man that you figure out is, shortly thereafter is Sam Berg. But it's Federico that he's the man in that they build it up as if he's the man, right? Right. He's the guy. And particularly this really interesting sequence as Federico and a henchman are walking toward the camera down this long concrete hallway, and we should talk about the set of the casino in a bit. It's fantastic, in this like bunker of a hallway, and the henchman is tying his tie for him. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't figure out what is the symbolism of that. What is he trying to say by the fact that is that a thing that you do as sort of a motion of deference to a superior peer? You tie another man's tie and then put it around your own neck and then put it on his neck so he can tighten it. I've never done that for anybody. I've never had anybody do that for me. I'd like to know when it happens, what I should be expecting to follow.
Oh, that's how I have my tie tied all the time. I have my manslave who comes in and ties it for me.
All right, so it's aspirational, is what you're telling me.
I really have no idea. It is kind of an interesting little thing especially because there's this whole thing about touch, and so it's interesting that he's able to get close to him to put this pre-tied tie on him.
But as long as they don't touch skin, everybody avoids touching his skin. Right. So I don't know. I've been thinking a lot about those little elements in this film because there is such a focus on touch. I think one of the real strengths of it in terms of what we are allowed to see is just that how the camera moves in and out of each of these characters in their journey of luck. Through each of the major luck games, we have, I think, a really unusual sense of touch because of where they put the camera and how close we are to faces and hands and fingertips and things. It ends up being a really visceral or tactile experience that I found myself exploring in watching this film again.
Yeah, it definitely gets you right in there. And jumping right into it, but working with the cinematographer that he worked with on this film, whose name is eluding me at the moment, but he's a very prominent cinematographer who has ended up going on to do quite a lot of large international films. Javi Jimenez is his name. He did The Machinist. He did Trans-Siberian, Red Lights, Agora, all English language films. So he's kind of crossed that line. I mean, being able to paint pretty pictures in the movies definitely language isn't as much of a barrier. So once you see somebody who really knows how to work the camera and make beautiful images, I mean, people latch onto that. So he's definitely somebody that people have been drawn to. And I think he worked really closely with Juan Carlos Fresnadillo in the making of this film to tell the story. Like you were just saying, this is a story about touch and how and luck and the good and the bad of luck. And you really do get close to a lot of people in this film, and that sense of being in somebody's vicinity, I guess. It just makes you feel you can feel close to these people, but it's that idea of the touch is such an interesting tactile thing that they're kind of dancing around. You're close, but you're not close.
Yes. I got sidetracked because you mentioned, say his name again, cinematographer.
Javi Jimenez.
Javi Jimenez. See, that's confusing because it's an X for Javi and a G for Jimenez, and no J's anywhere in there. Now, I know I'm an idiot with pronunciation, but this one seems like it's deliberately out to make me look dumb.
That's how I think it's pronounced.
All right. Well, I'm going to go with you on this one because you're right more than I am. But I would like to say that he also did another film that I thought was particularly visceral, The Machinist in 2004 with Christian Bale. Talk about an interesting visual style. Painting those pictures it's another really fascinating take on industry and sort of that bunker feel to it, sort of claustrophobic. I think he did a really excellent job there. And this one, in truth, it jumps back and forth, I think, in an interesting way. So we go... when you look at each of the games, right, they sort of grow in expanse, right? They expand and then contract to the very end. So we start out in this very sort of compressed space, this bunker space. We move to this first game. We're in a small room, the bug room, where you can talk about that in a second. And then we move out to, a slightly larger space, and then we move out into the woods. And the woods end up being, I think, probably the most palpably, interestingly to me, the most palpably claustrophobic because of what they're doing in the woods. I mean, the visuals here are incredible. They take these lucky people, these people who are moving up the ranks in terms of luck, and they blindfold them, and they have them follow a runner who is screaming. They tape their hands or tie their hands behind their backs, and then they have them follow a runner who's just running, as fast as he can through the woods, saying, "Follow me, follow me, follow me." And then these blindfolded, hand-tied people are supposed to run through the woods as fast as they can without being able to see, and count on their luck from having them run into stuff. And that, remarkably, I mean, it was not a horror sequence. It was not a graphically violent sequence, and yet I was tied in knots watching this happen.
That's what's really interesting about this film, is the way that it plays with your emotions. I mean, there are issues with it. I mean, I think there's some pacing issues with the film. There's some story construction that can be a little confusing. It took me, a couple sittings to really fully understand the story, or a couple of viewings, I should say, to really say, okay, I really understand everything that's going on now, and how all these pieces are in place. But then those scenes come up that I think that the team here craft so expertly, that do just make you just so tense, because you're watching these scenes of the most insane game you've ever seen played, with this people relying on luck to not hit a tree, and it's riveting, because I mean you can, the camera's moving through the trees, you're with each of these people, and then when you see each of the couple of them that do end up smacking into trees and just get taken down, I mean you're really right there. It's done in a way that I mean, just everything about it really pulls you into it. There's no big bombastic film score, and as much as I love film score, it's not so huge that it kind of takes you out of it. I mean, it really, as I recall, I'd have to go back and watch it again, but I feel like that particular scene, it really is kind of like you're hearing the footsteps, and you're hearing the guy screaming, follow me, follow me. Yeah. The breathing of all the different people.
The compression of the breath is something that really sticks with me.
And the pounding, it feels like there's a heavy air, like in that scene. Something about it just feels heavy, and I feel like I'm really in there. Like, it just feels very visceral.
Yes. I absolutely agree, and that's the sort of the pressure, the humidity, and I think a lot of that is because of the way they play with texture, the interiors and the exteriors. I mean, we go from these highly compressed spaces that are all dry, cold concrete, and we move to these, like the casino itself. The exterior of the casino itself is in this sort of high desert scape. It's this lone building in the middle of nowhere, and there's a giant sort of ragged kind of hillscape behind it, but everything in front is just these sort of dry desert plants. These round, everything's very round, and you get this. It feels like you're just sort of rolling into where this place is, and yet, then when we finally move to someplace green, it's the woods where they put these people in such a. They give them such a horrible task to do, to put themselves, to have to force themselves to do something that will put them in such harm, and to give them, I mean, they have all the control. All they have to do is stop running, and yet they are compelled to run for the competition's sake, which I think is fascinating. So I really like that. I think your point about the story and the structural issues is, that rings true for me. As soon as I start thinking about the story, I think about how many times I've seen the film and still don't feel like I really get it. Mm-hmm. I think we've talked about films like this in the past where the story itself is particularly fragile. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is definitely a writer-director film, because how would you possibly explain this to to somebody else to actually take the helm of it and do it? It's kind of a hot mess, and it's just this concept of luck trading, I think, is a difficult one to show, to demonstrate, and not count on a whole lot of dialogue to get you through it.
He's really created kind of his own little modern fantasy world, right? I mean, that's really what it is. And he co-wrote this with Andres M. Coppel. I'm assuming that's how you pronounce it. It's it's definitely, it feels like, a writer-director film, like you said. It does feel like a story that he came up with this concept and put this story together, and it feels like it's delicate, I think, is an interesting word for it. Like, there's enough here to buy into this world, but it feels like if they explored it too much farther to the left or the right, it may have crumbled because there, there wasn't quite enough there, but there's enough there in the context of the film. So it's standing up on this conceit of trading luck and stealing luck from people and stuff, and it all works because you buy into it. But then, you can't step too far out of that, or it's not going to work anymore.
Yeah.
But I think it is a really interesting story, and I think in a way it creates this interesting story, not just about luck, but also about love. Although I think that, unfortunately, I think that's one of the weaker parts of the film, the story of Tomas, our bank robber, who's our protagonist in this story, and the love that he kind of left behind. I think that there's an interesting love story that I think they could have found a way to build it a little stronger, since when it comes time to the end of the film, it feels to me like love is part of the reason that he is able to triumph in the end. I don't know if you read it that way, but that's how I kind of read it.
Well, talk more about that, because I was seeing this sort of the parallel as you were describing the film up front. And we were talking about the police officer and her experience with love and luck, and the sort of the inextricable tie between love and luck.
Right.
I was trying to find that parallel with his love story, and the fact that that he was saying to her, "I don't love you anymore," to keep her from getting on the plane, because somehow he knew that the plane was going to crash and that he was going to live because he's so lucky. Like I'm absolutely reading into this now in hindsight, but that's sort of the experience that I was getting, and I think I agree with you, maybe prematurely, that was an area of the film that was not fully exploited.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I saw it that way, where he said, "I don't love you anymore," in order to kind of have her stay behind. I was a little, and maybe that's why.
But that's what she said. I mean, that was how she interpreted it.
Right. Well, but I guess I don't think that it was developed strong enough where I fully understood his reasons for saying, "I don't love you anymore." Does he really not love her anymore?
Right.
Does he love her, but he could tell he knew something was going to happen? I was a little torn, or maybe he wanted to protect her and didn't want her to get caught, since yes, he was a bank robber. He's traveling with a large sum of money, of stolen money, strapped to his body. I mean, that's definitely, it's probably not best to bring your girlfriend along when you're traveling that way.
Right.
So, I mean, that could have been the reason. It's a little unclear, and that's where I think it could have worked. They could have found a way to develop that a little stronger. But like you were saying, comparing it to Sarah, the police officer who's pursuing him, she latches onto that idea that he saved the love of his life by saying, "I don't love you anymore." She then has that moment where she's kind of dreaming of her dead husband, and it's almost like she wishes she had said, "I don't love you anymore," when she's in the car.
As you see it play out, that he would have pulled over.
Right. And then thereby avoiding the other car that they crash into. And so there's definitely a feeling of guilt, and this feeling, it's that nature of being the survivor in a horrible situation like that, and feeling like you're not worthy to have survived.
I think they actually call that survivor's guilt. I think that's a thing.
That you think that is actually
No,
a
I think
thing?
that's a real thing.
Yeah, well, there you go. Here I thought I was coming up with something genius.
No, you should write a book.
I'm gonna.
I can see your book being used in therapy everywhere.
Yes. Finally, my big break.
I have arrived.
But I think it's something that she latches onto this bank robber, and I think that's why she becomes so fervent in her pursuit of him, because it's not just that he is this bank robber and he ends up escaping from the hospital under mysterious circumstances. And yes, I mean, as the police officer, I'm sure she does want to stop him, but at the same time, she does seem like she's driven by something more. And I think part of that is that this guy managed to survive a plane crash, the only survivor in this huge plane crash. Not only that, but also he told his girlfriend that he didn't love her anymore, thereby saving her life.
Right. And so that's the problem. That's sort of a problem I have with her character. Like she... I understand her curse. Her curse is that as she inadvertently stole the luck from her family, they were killed and she lived. And that the message of that experience is this is the curse of luck, right? Luck, good luck, bad luck is all an interpretation. He lived and his girlfriend lived, but he also now doesn't have a girlfriend and he was in a plane crash. Like it was really not great, right?
And caught.
And caught. Exactly. So, but she goes on this, her drive is a little bit unpredictable for me. Like I'm just not sure. I feel like maybe she was sort of when I talk about kind of unexploited or underexploited areas in this film, I felt like she was the most forgettable.
I agree. I feel like that's the thing is like I enjoy that element of the story with the love and the luck and the family and saving people and even at the end how he's kind of fighting to win back the luck that basically was stolen by Federico of the love of his life when he tore the picture and basically sold his girlfriend's luck from him. The way that he's almost fighting to beat Samuel to get her back is because of love. And I feel like somehow the way it all gets tied together, I feel there's fault there, some fault lines, some cracks that are going to crumble. And it always feels like it's just not quite right.
Yeah.
And maybe it is partly because of the police officer and the way that she's tied into it.
Yeah.
That really kind of ties me up a little bit as I try to untangle it.
It all builds to this climactic final sequence where ironically it's the good, the bad, the ugly kind of trio at the end of this. We have some thugs in the corner, but really what we get is we have this experience where Sam and Tomas are having their duel, their inverse Russian roulette.
It's like Deer Hunter, more.
Yeah, you're right. It's right. Except for this is the roulette for the lucky, where it's not one bullet and 5 empty chambers or it's
5 bullets,
5 bullets and one empty chamber, and that's how these guys play Russian roulette, and it's pretty grim. And so we see that Max von Sydow, Sam Beck's luck is intact as the first shot is the blank. There's the empty chamber, and as he hands the gun over, the detective bursts in, and we have this little 3-way kind of visual duel that is very quick, and somebody shuts out the lights.
Right.
And lots of gunfire. And we have this sort of visual play of the muzzle flash, which is good. And at the end, everybody's dead. And you kind of guess when you come up with who's going to be the lucky one, because now we know what we've set up. What he set up through the film is that we have 3 incredibly lucky people in the room, and so who is going to be the lucky one? I don't know how I feel about it.
Well, and that's the nature of some of the problem of the film is it builds to kind of this moment where it's a little, I mean, I don't want to say predictable, but I mean it is. But at the same time, I like it. I like it despite its faults. I still like it, and I don't know. I wish that they would have found another way to end all of that. And yeah, I think probably if they had not had the police officer in the story at all, I think there could have been a stronger story here. But we have to look at the film for what it is, and unfortunately, I feel like it does build to kind of this moment that does feel a little bit less interesting.
It's like half a moment.
Yeah,
it's fine. It's fine for what it is. It leaves Federico alone. He has been the handler of Tomas for much of the second half of the film, and leaves him alone in this room of dead bodies, and Tomas is running across the desert. Alone, but he has won back the luck of his former love,
right?
And I guess we're to assume, because in this final duel, he was playing for the luck of Federico. Is that how you read that? Like the pictures that they swapped, that they were the stakes they were playing for was the girlfriend and Federico.
Yeah.
So what does that mean for Federico?
Well, I think that whatever Federico had left would be gone. Remember how he was so ardently opposed.
Yeah, don't touch me.
To being touched, to having his photo ever taken. I think that this was kind of that he finally had to just accept that he had to put himself up there, and basically whatever luck he had left. I mean, that's something I guess that I didn't quite understand either, because I thought he kind of didn't have much luck left anyway. I mean, he had Sam had come up and given him that great big bear hug in the elevator in the beginning of the film. So I kind of assumed that he already didn't have a lot of luck. So I wasn't sure what was left with Federico, and maybe that's why I didn't understand that element of the end either. So I don't know.
This is I don't know.
But this is the first feature-length film for Juan Carlos Fresnadillo, and I've got to say, for a first film, despite these problems that he has, I love that he went out on a major limb to come up with an incredibly unique story that I hadn't seen before, with this whole idea of stealing luck from people, and found a way to tell a big story about that felt global. I mean, we have people from all over the world. I mean, the lead, Tomas, Leonardo Sbaraglia, is actually from Argentina, even though he plays it as Spain. But you've got kind of this international cast. You've got people speaking English, French, Spanish.
I wanted to ask you how that hit you, because this really is, I mean, it's not just a foreign language film, but in many respects, your interpretation of the film, I think, directly may relate to which language you're coming at this film with as native. I mean, this is it's not just a foreign film, it's a global film.
Yeah.
And I think that makes it really unique in the category.
And it excites me. And I think that's, for a first-time filmmaker, I mean, a first-time feature filmmaker, I think that it's incredibly ballsy to go out and say, I'm going to make this film that's kind of like a globe-trotting sort of film, where you have people from it just gives it this context where you feel like this is a global thing. This whole idea of these luck contests. I mean, yes, we're focused on Spain, but I feel like they could easily have jumped on a plane and instead of going to the island of Tenerife in the Canary Islands to go to this casino, they equally could have gone up to France or over to Czechoslovakia and done the same thing. It's like, I feel like there's this thing going on all over the world that people are tapped into. And that's what I really love about him as a first-time filmmaker, putting that into his film and giving us this sense that, yes, people from all over the world are tied up in this whole idea of luck. There are no borders when it comes to luck. You can take luck from anyone, anywhere in the world.
I absolutely agree, and I feel like it's like this is what we do, this armchairing thing. But what he did It almost feels like at every major milestone, every major decision point, he took the harder option, right? At no point did he make this easy on himself.
Right.
I want to
exactly.
take actors who all speak different native languages. I want to put it in a place that is going to be challenging to shoot in. I want to make it about a subject that's going to take people 4 times to watch, no matter what language they speak, just to even feel like they get it. Right. And we're just going to roll the dice and kind of see where it shakes out. And the result, I think, is in spite of the places that I have challenge, I find this to be an immensely satisfying viewing. And the stuff that I am most challenged about, I forget almost immediately because I am so just entranced by the concept. Like you said, it is wholly original, and I was surprised the first time I saw it, and I continue to be surprised by what he achieved and some of the visuals in this film. They're just great.
Yeah. I came at this film. It was just one of those films playing at the art house here in town, and I had never heard of it. My wife and I just decided to go see it one night. I knew nothing about it, and I walked out of the theater just having one of those epiphanies of this is a new and unique voice, and I had so much fun experiencing it. And yes, even with its problems, it's so satisfying. I've seen it countless times now, and I just have so much fun watching it, even with those problems.
Totally agree.
So,
were you able to find anything on the numbers in this film?
not a whole lot. I only found that in the U.S., it domestically made just under 400,000. So I have a feeling that the international series is going to be a little thin on the numbers.
Yeah.
It's just not, you don't get a lot of the international numbers posted on through all the different sites. So, alas, what are you going to do?
Indeed.
Yeah.
Still, fantastic film, and it's worth seeing. Do you have any other tidbits before we rank it?
Oh yes, of course I do.
I know.
So first of all, Juan Carlos Fresnadillo, he is actually from Santa Cruz de Tenerife,
right,
in the Canary Islands. He's from there, so I'm assuming that's how he got tapped in to actually film in the casino there. Coincidentally, the island of Tenerife also has, since 2007, they have an annual, the Tenerife International Film Music Festival, which one of these days I hope to go to. They play lots of great film scores, and it's one of those things that I really want to go to. One, for the festival, and two, for the island. I think it would be a lot of fun.
I think so too. I thought you were going to break into song. One for the festival, two for the island.
That's right. Three
for the booze.
There you go. One has he's an interesting film director in that he gets attached to a lot of films that never happen. The poor guy. He was attached to do the remake of Highlander. This was a couple, 2 years ago. He was attached to the remake of Highlander. That fell through. He was attached to the remake
did they say?
of...
Why did they say that it fell through? Did it have anything to do with the fact that there really can be only one?
Oh,
what? Did I just drop some Highlander?
You did.
It wasn't very funny.
It really wasn't. He was attached to do the reboot of The Crow, and that fell through.
Yeah, that one's cursed.
He was attached, or he wasn't attached. He was on the short list of directors to do the Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. I believe that who did they decide for that? Was it Matt Reeves? I'm not sure if they've decided, but anyway, it's not him.
Huh.
He was attached to do a movie with Shia LaBeouf called Villain, which is a psychological thriller, and I think that fell through. And now he is just a couple weeks ago, it's been announced that he is attached to reboot Pet Sematary.
Oh.
So yeah, so it's interesting. He keeps getting attached to all these reboots and remakes and sequels and things. None of them happen. So I'd love to see him make something again. I think he's got a great voice and a great style. But man, it's just, I don't know. Right now, it seems like he's just cursed getting attached to remakes and reboots and sequels. So
that's too bad because when you talk about sort of one of he just has a really unique eye. And I think all of those films would be interesting kind of playgrounds for him. And it is Matt Reeves on Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought.
It just looks like a very Pet Cemetery. I find that intriguing, particularly as we've been talking more and more about Stephen King.
Right.
Anyhow,
he actually came into the spotlight. He'd been making short films since the I think late '80s, but he came into the spotlight in 1996 with a short film that he did, a black and white short film called Esposados, which he was nominated for an Academy Award for. And from that, and he won countless awards around Spain and the world. And he became kind of a huge star from that. And that actually helped him get to a point where he was able to make Intacto. So you can watch, it's a long short film. It's like, I think, half hour, but we can post the link in the show notes to it so people can check it out if they are interested in that.
Absolutely.
Intacto went on to win in the Spanish Academy Awards, which are the Goya Awards. He went on, let's see, it was nominated for 8 awards, 8 Goyas. Let's see, Best Actor, Eusebio Poncela for his role of Federico. Best Supporting Actor, Antonio Deschent, which I thought was interesting. He's the bullfighter. He got nominated for Best Supporting Actor. And Leonardo Sbaraglia won for Best New Actor. So they have an interesting, the way that their categories are lined up. So Leonardo ended up winning for Best Actor or Best New Actor for his role. And then Juan Carlos Fresnadillo won for Best New Director. It was nominated for Best Cinematography, Best Art Direction by Cesar Macaron, and Best Production Supervision by Jose Luis Jimenez, and Best Special Effects by a whole bunch of people. I'm not going to read all their names. And I think that was all the awards. I feel like I'm forgetting one, but yeah. So it did really well for this first time feature filmmaker, and he made a great looking film that is a lot of fun to watch. The only other thing I wanted to say is just regarding my new passion for giant insects. We'll put in the show notes a couple links to sites where you can look at giant bugs and watch some videos of the Heteropteryx dilatata, because really, that's really what everyone who's listening to the show wants to go do right now.
So that can be found over at thenextreel.com, and just go check it out. It's just search for Intacto if it's not on the main page as you're listening to this. But that's horrible that you would do that to people. But
it's
we can all find out what Andy loves about his giant green brain-boring insects.
Obsession.
When they start doing this thing where they start putting the molasses on Tomas's head and saying, oh, he loves the molasses, and then turns out it really does.
The one thing about them is they do not actually glow in the dark. They are not bioluminescent insects. That is a fabrication in the film. I was a little disappointed in that. If I want a big bug, I want it to glow.
What can we do to genetically modify the giant bug?
Right. How can we mate it with a lightning bug? Oh, terrible, terrible. All right.
Okay.
That's it. That's all I needed to say.
Hey. I'm glad. That was good.
Shall we rank it?
I want to. Head over to, I don't even know where we're going to rank anymore. So we do 2 rankings, right? We do this flick chart thing. If you head over to flickchart.com/thenextreel, you can find our entire golden list, the top of our rankings of films. You can head over, if you go to thenextreel.com, you can see in the extras link, it'll take you straight to the golden list, the top 100. But just our account, you can friend us over there and see all the films in stack ranked order. Of all the films that we've reviewed. You can also head over to letterboxd.com, as Andy mentioned earlier in the show, /thenextreel, and you can see our star ratings of each of these films that we have done. So if you Letterboxd, Flickchart, whatever your pleasure, we're there.
That's right.
Let's do it.
All right. Intacto or Inside Man?
Inside Man.
See, I feel like I would go Intacto because, I mean, Inside Man is a really clever, fun story, but there's something about the level of creativity in Intacto that always draws me back to it. And even though it has some issues, I love the whole idea of the luck gambling.
Yeah, I mean, I do too, but I felt like Inside Man showed me some things in the Khan film that I had not seen before. And Clive Owen.
And Clive Owen, yes.
Oh, what are we going to do? How strongly do you feel about how clever those things are?
You know, I could go either way. I'll bend on this one.
Okay, good. All right.
I'll go to Inside
now
Man.
I'm ready. I'm kneeling a little bit.
Intacto or Miller's Crossing?
Oh, you're totally going to go Miller's Crossing on this.
I'm totally going to go Intacto.
What?
I love it.
I was going to go Intacto.
Yeah, we'll see. There you go. That makes it easy.
Okay, good. That's good.
Intacto or Midnight Run?
Intacto.
I love Midnight Run, but I will go Intacto too. There's something, it's just such a unique movie. I just can't get over it. Intacto or The Illusionist? I'll also do Intacto. I'm going to be bothered every time I think about The Illusionist now, and Paul Giamatti laughing at the end like, oh, those silly guys got away with it. It's like, yeah, they got away with killing the king.
I can't, it's the thing I can't stop thinking about is just how great Paul Giamatti is in those. Who was it? Was that Tom or who came up with the acting classes for people with marbles in their mouths? I'm sorry. I'm going to go with Intacto on this one.
All right, me too.
Yeah.
Intacto or David Fincher's The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo? I'm going to go Intacto. Speaking of the world of foreign language films, I mean, David Fincher's one of my all-time favorite directors, but if I'm going to watch The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, I feel like I'm going to go back to the original version of it.
Is that crazy? I do too, and I feel guilty every time I think about that.
I don't feel guilty. I feel, as much as I love his version, I just feel like they shouldn't have done it. I feel like
too soon.
There's no
Too soon.
need. There's just no.
Well,
Okay.
yeah, and I'm going to go Intacto on this on principle alone.
There you go. Intacto or The Sandlot? I love The Sandlot, but I still am going to go Intacto.
Yeah, Intacto.
Intacto or Moon? I'm still going to go Intacto.
All right.
That was Pete bending. There we go.
Just go on. Just move on, please.
62 out of 121. So it's right near the middle.
Right in the middle. That's fine. That's a good place for it.
Yeah.
It's a good film with some problems that we're able to look past because of its fantastic other pieces.
Giant bug.
It's a giant bug. Where do we go from here?
We're going to move. Let's see. We're going not too far from Spain. We're just going across the border over to France. We're going to go to The Diving Bell and the Butterfly, which is an interesting foreign language film because it's actually directed by an American.
I hate this movie.
You hate it because you love it.
It is. It is. I'm going to give away the punchline right now. Spoiler: it is a terrific film that I never, ever wanted to watch again.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I can't stand it. It's one of the most uncomfortable films I have ever had to watch
because it's so visceral. Right. It really puts you in there.
It is, and I'll probably tell this again next week. My wife is a speech language pathologist, and much of this film is about the relationship with his speech language pathologist and the communication advisor. And I told her how horrible I felt like this film was. She's never seen it, and she'll be watching it with me. And she said, "You know what? You have nothing to worry about. If you ever have a stroke and get locked in syndrome, if you ever have any problems with that, I'm totally never going to give up because that's really fun for me." I'm like, really? Really? I have a stroke, I'm paralyzed, and I become your experiment as you sew my eyelids shut?
It's awesome. That's love, man. That is love.
Oh, good talk.
Oh my gosh! As long as she doesn't want to like sew you to other people.
I think that's a different movie. That's a different movie. That's more in your bailiwick.
Oh yes, the diving bell and the human.
The diving bell and the saw. I think that's it, right?
I think that's it.
Hey, thanks everybody for listening. I gotta go to bed. Can you just? I don't mean to sort of perseverate on this, but could you just give me a rundown of the key? Give me just the pros.
the pros.
What it would be like to have a jet, because I saw one of the YouTube videos on the list that you sent me was this like 14-year-old kid, and he was like having to crawl around on his arms. It's like the size of his forearm.
They grow up to about 7 inches long, and the females are beautiful green insects. I mean, they look like aliens. I guess that's why it's cool, because it doesn't look like a cute little puppy or a cuddly little kitty cat or a fluffy bunny, all of which are very cute. It looks like a crazy alien pet that you have, and that's why it's cool, because it's so weird. And that's what draws me to it, I guess. It's just the strangeness of it. And I know I'll never be allowed to have one in the house.
So you will just
to my
fantasy.
chagrin.
You know, I need to talk about snakes then, as long as we're doing this, because I read this. I was researching for a while because my daughter came home from school one day, and she said, "We need snakes," and I said, "That's ridiculous," but I'm gonna research, and just because I had to build my case, and it turns out it's quite easy to build a case for not having snakes, because. Apparently, and this is what I uncovered, that the snake is not a pet that ever develops an affinity relationship with you, like cats and dogs and rats, and these are animals that will build a trust relationship with you. And snakes, you start hearing these stories about how oh gosh, that pet anaconda ate its owner because its owner was sleeping in the same bed with it. And as it comes out, these snakes actually always look at you as food.
Right.
And they never build an affinity. Really. When they're hungry, if you are sleeping in the same bed with it, you dummy, it's going to eat you. You are just another, sheep.
You're just a great big rat.
You're a giant rat and that's what happens. So that's how I sort of feel about bugs. And all of those videos that you sent, they all lead to the same path. It's like this yellow brick road that all leads to, oh my gosh, did you see the video about the guy whose kid had a thing lay eggs in his skin? And that's what insects do.
It's like that Werner Herzog documentary about the guy who totally loved the bears until the bear ate him.
Until the bear ate him. That's what happens.
Yeah. I will love them from afar.
I think
that's all I have.
I think that's wise.
Don't take that away from me.
You'll always have the internet.
Oh, Heteropteryx dilatata.
It is hard to believe that we have been having in-depth weekly conversations about movies since 2011.
So many great conversations over the years about so many great movies.
And some stinkers.
Well, true. But producing this show week after week requires a ton of work behind the scenes. If you'd like to help support our efforts, one easy way is by using our Originals page when shopping for books and movies that we've covered.
Just visit thenextreel.com/originals. Your purchases made through our links give us a small commission at no extra cost to you and allow us to keep having these great discussions.
In Season 3, we covered even more great adaptations like The Night of the Hunter and It Happened One Night, both part of our Couples on the Run series.
We talked about No Country for Old Men. The Coen brothers so rarely adapt someone else's work.
We had some fun rom-com adaptations like About a Boy, based on the Nick Hornby novel, and Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist, adapted from Rachel Cohn and David Levithan's book.
In our terribly and naively named foreign language series, we discussed The Brilliant City of God and The Diving Bell and the Butterfly, which I won't ever be able to watch again, ever.
But could you read the original memoir?
I don't know, maybe?
We had our Richard Dysart series with adaptations like The Day of the Locust and Being There.
Plus, we had that fantastic interview with the man himself.
The one where we had him sit on the floor.
Because this chair was so squeaky. Good times.
We did our first Tom Hanks series with Forrest Gump, adapted from Winston Groom's novel, plus Apollo 13, based on Lost Moon by Jim Lovell.
And we did another year series looking at films from 1981, including Das Boot, Gallipoli, and Thief, all based on books.
Listeners can dive deeper into all of these original stories and more at thenextreel.com/originals. Every book, play,
movie,
video game. You bet. We have talked about some video game adaptations as well. It doesn't matter the source, just follow the link. Every purchase supports the podcast.
Check out the full list at thenextreel.com/originals and get reading, watching, performing, or playing today.